Hello there, it is Erick Erickson here, delighted to have you this great, fine Tuesday, blue skies where I am. I hope wherever you are, you got blue skies, although it's going to get hot. We were in an air conditioner this morning or in a gym this morning for graduation, and there was no air conditioner in. It started to get a little warm. Folks, the Eden Pure thunderstorm is an air purifier, and it's so much more than that. And so many of you have been so happy with it. I continue to get delighted emails from people who've discovered it. This thing fits in the palm of your hand. You can charge it with you can power it with a USB plug. You can plug it into the wall. You can take it in your car. You can take it in your RV. You can put it in your kitchen. It wipes out odors. Now, this is the thing. This is really important for you to understand. There are a lot of so-called air purifying devices out there that will mask odors. There are a lot of people now who use essential oils and diffusers to mask odors. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier eliminates the odors. It doesn't mask them, it gets rid of them, and it's filterless. Not only that, it's also guaranteed to kill and prevent the spread of mold, mildew, fungus, including dangerous black mold. We have them in our house. More and more of you are ordering them, and right now you can get 3 of them for $187. 3 of them for $187. You save $200. It's such a good deal, and you get free shipping. What you do is you go to EdenPureDeals.com. Eden, like the Garden of Eden. Pure as the driven snow. EdenPureDeals.com. You click on my name. You'll see it on the front page of the website. You click on my name, and you'll see you get 3 of them for $387. Go on and add them to your cart and check out. And when you check out, you'll see a code for a discount. And when you put in the discount code ERICK, E-R-I-C-K, it'll take $200 off and give you free shipping. So go to EdenPureDeals.com, click on my name, make sure you use my name, Erick, E-R-I-C-K, as your checkout code, and you can thank me later. The Democrats right now, they're having a hard time. They're having a real hard time on the issue of dealing with the GOP. Marjorie Taylor Greene keeps causing problems. Y'all, can we talk about Marjorie for just a minute? Marjorie Taylor Greene is out comparing vaccine treatment to the Holocaust. I realize it's kind of it's the I don't even know, the immature Republican response. It's the trolly one. It's the one you know is going to get you buzz. And reporters are having a hard time with this because James Carville says we need to define the Republicans by the worst of them. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the gift that keeps on giving for the Democrats. It's easy to define the Republicans as the worst of them if Marjorie Taylor Greene is your spokesman. Because, let's be honest here, the media ignores the Democrats. They ignore the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes and the Ilhan Omars and the Maxine Waters of the world. And they want to fixate on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she makes it very easy for the media to fixate on her and define the rest of her compatriots as bad, even though they're not. Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of the worst of the GOP, and the media uses her to define the whole GOP. I don't think it's going to work, but there are some reporters who are finally realizing if we cover her, we're just helping her make money. So she's comparing vaccine requirements and mask mandates to the Holocaust. If you don't understand how offensive that is, I don't know that I can help you. But it's deeply offensive. You probably need to go watch, Schindler's List, and understand that that's a true story, and then probably you'll get a sense of why you shouldn't compare that to vaccine cards. But also, we should be mindful that it's the Democrats who want the federal government to pay for Marjorie Taylor Greene's campaign because of H.R. 1, and the Democrats don't want to talk about that. This hour of the program is sponsored by First Liberty Building and Loan. They are in Noonan, Georgia. They can help you nationwide. If your business needs to grow and needs access to loans, capital, you need to reach out to First Liberty Building and Loan. We're talking six figures and higher. They do big deals and they want to make you a big deal. Go to firstlibertyga.com, firstlibertyga.com. Spend 5 minutes with them, see if they're a good fit for you. Thank you to them for sponsoring the program. Y'all, have you seen this video? It is circulating. John Cena, the wrestler actor. He's in Fast and Furious 9. He made the fatal mistake of calling Taiwan a country and is having to apologize to his Chinese masters.
你好，中国，就是叫西娜。我必须说，现在，在速度与激情中，我做很多采访，很多。所以在一个采访，我有一个错误。
He's actually speaking on Weibo, a Chinese app that's kind of like Facebook, but much more expansive than that. He's speaking in Chinese. For his Chinese masters. Hang on. Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. John Cena, the wrestler turned actor, dared to tell the truth that Taiwan is its own country. The Hollywood film studios want his Fast and Furious 9 movie to be a box office hit in China. And so to avoid offending the Chinese, he has in Chinese delivered a groveling apology for daring to call Taiwan a nation. This is that's actually John Cena speaking Chinese to apologize for not understanding and offending. And I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing. A Hollywood film studio got him to do this, you know it, and he's willing to grovel to a country that runs concentration camps. This is like apologizing to Hitler for failing to recognize the German claim to Poland. The Chinese run concentration camps. The Chinese actually persecute people. The Chinese actually eliminate, annihilate, destroy, and kill people who offend the Chinese regime. And he is sucking up to them for money. Hollywood is, at this point, controlled by the Chinese. It's amazing. It is likewise amazing that the American media is now having to essentially rearrange facts and send documents down the memory hole to deny that they were ever opposed to the idea that the virus came from Wuhan. Here is the former FDA chief, Scott Gottlieb, on CNBC.
We haven't found the intermediate host. We found no evidence of this virus in an animal anywhere. The closest homology we found is a pangolin outbreak that occurred in March of 2019. But we haven't found the true source of the virus. And with MERS and SARS, at this point with those outbreaks, those epidemics, we had found the intermediate host. And it's not for lack of trying. There's been an exhaustive search for what the animal host was for this virus, and it hasn't been found. So I think the ledger on the side of the lab continues to grow. And the question for a lot of people is going to be, when are too many coincidences too much? When does it just seem that there's too many things suggesting that this could have come out of a lab? And right now, there's more and more circumstantial evidence, certainly. I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of this, because unless we have a whistleblower, assuming it did come out of a lab, and I'm not saying it did, but assuming it did, unless we have a whistleblower, a regime change in China, you're not going to truly find out. If there are retained samples from those people who were infected in that lab, I don't think they're available anymore.
Probably not. Jim Garrity writes in the National Review, it would be preferable if this Sunday's big Wall Street Journal scoop had a few more specifics attached to it. Here's the beginning of it. 3 researchers from China's Wuhan Institute of Virology became sick enough in November 2019 that they sought hospital care, according to a previously undisclosed U.S. intelligence report. The researchers with symptoms consistent with both COVID-19 and common seasonal illness. That's kind of a big distinction now, isn't it? Let's observe that most people who work in biosafety level 4 laboratories, such as the Wuhan Institute of Virology, are in their adult years and are in good health. Well, I suppose it is possible that a lab technician or virologist who handles dangerous pathogens could be immunocompromised or elderly. That seems like a significant and unusual risk for both the individual and the institution. If you go midway down the page on my April 3rd examination of the evidence, you'll see 5 photos of the staff from the website for the Wuhan Institute of Virology's Lab of Diagnostic Microbiology, available at the start of pandemic. The staffers appear to be in their 20s, 30s, or 40s. Perhaps common seasonal illnesses in central China are more likely to put a healthy adult in the hospital. Here in the United States, the 2 groups at the highest risk of developing serious complications from influenza during flu season are the elderly and the immunocompromised. While it's unheard of for a healthy adult to require, while it's not unheard of for a healthy adult to require hospitalization for the flu, it's pretty rare. And yet, if the previously undiagnosed disclosed U.S. intelligence report is accurate, the Wuhan Institute had 3 hospitalizations either simultaneously or in rapid succession. This means that one of 3 things happened. Either 3 employees of the institute caught a particularly virulent common seasonal illness, bad enough to put healthy adults in the hospital right before the SARS outbreak, and completely unrelated to it, their illness was connected to their work at the lab, but what they caught was not COVID, or they caught COVID and were the first cluster of COVID cases. That actually makes sense, considering that they think that the spread of COVID began sometime in early December in Wuhan in public. But there's a larger issue here. You know, Vox Media last year did a giant piece on why it would have not been likely that the virus was released from the lab, and has now gone back and edited the post with no disclaimer of its edits to make it seem like it was a reasonable presumption. I want to spend a moment on a larger issue here. Excuse me. Let's spend a moment here. Who can do an intervention for the American media? Who will they listen to? Because it seems like the American media has become not just of the left and within the Democratic bubble, but within that bubble, a bubble of their own, a very insular existence. The American media last year disparaged anyone who suggested that the Wuhan virus came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Tom Cotton was attacked as a racist. Donald Trump was attacked as a racist. Even now, an anti-Asian hate group that studies anti-Asian hate has listed Donald Trump and Tom Cotton's claims about the virus coming from that lab as instances of anti-Asian hate conducted by white people to skew the numbers. A report the media itself helped circulate. Who does an intervention for the American press? They need one. They dismissed the claims about the Institute because it was Donald Trump and Republicans who made them. The gatekeepers and guardians of truth decided it must not be true because the people they don't like said it was so. And it turns out it more likely than not is so. And those of us who paid attention to it all along said that was most likely explanation. And yet the media not only said no, but social media groups of the left, run by the left, like Twitter, you are likely to get your account turned off or notices put on your tweets because you said something that in fact turned out to be true. But it's not just that. Look at the Hunter Biden story. The New York Post had its account turned off on Twitter for accurately describing the substance of the situation with Hunter Biden. We now know it was true. We now know he was under investigation. We now know that Hunter Biden is being looked at by the Department of Justice. We now know that the documents and the pictures and the like were more likely than not true. And yet the New York Post got punished for saying so, in large part because other press outlets were horrified the New York Post might run something critical of Joe Biden and his family, and worked with social media companies to censor, to fact check and censor. The fact checkers themselves last year thoroughly debunked the idea that the virus might have come from Wuhan, from the lab, and is now having to backpedal. But, well, now based on newly disclosed evidence, now we can walk away from saying it was a lie. But it was always a reasonable presumption, and the fact checkers said no at the time, despite a lot of evidence, including, as Tom Cotton said a year ago, the roads shut down and cell service shut off around the lab for some time. That's not a speculation on his part. That was a fact at the time. So who does an intervention with the media? Who does an intervention? Who helps the media with their self-absorption and their partisan narrative play such that they themselves are willing to cover things truthfully? I mean, like the fiery but mostly peaceful protests. See, a free people require a free press. But a free press is not truly free when that press itself is held hostage to its own worst views and biases. It's not a free press when the presumptions of the press are to always go in one direction against another. It's not a free press when the media engages in picking the winners and losers instead of just telling us what happened. It's not a free press when the press itself collaborates to censor others whose views the press don't like. The American people, a free people, depend on a free press. The press has held itself hostage. And the result of this is pretty alarming, and you should be concerned about it. Because a lot of Americans, as a result of the press giving up its own freedom for security with the Democratic Party, a lot of Americans are realizing that they can no longer get the truth from the media. So they go down rabbit holes on social media through algorithms, through back doors of the internet, and go to dark places and find conspiracy theories. And the conspiracy theories would be more easily debunked if people could believe the press, but you can't believe the press, can you? You can't believe the press because many, many people understood that the virus more likely than not did come from that lab, and they were all told they were not only crazy, but racist and crazy for daring to bring up what the press now pretends it never didn't believe. People go in search of the truth in other locations because they know they're not going to get it from the press. Who does an intervention on the American media? Who engages the American media and tells them, hey guys, you're so willing to hurt, vilify, denounce Republicans because you've decided they're bad, that you're no longer willing to actually report the truth. You're playing a side, and that playing a side is tripping you up. You've decided to be gatekeepers of knowledge and truth, not reporters of knowledge and truth, and there is a difference. In trying to be fact checkers, the media has destroyed their credibility to the point that a lot of Americans don't even get their news anymore from them. They go to Facebook, they go to social media, they go to YouTube, they go to their friends. And so what the media response is to denounce Facebook and social media for being places where people go to get their news. I actually do believe most Americans would prefer a newspaper or a television news product from which to get their news instead of having to surf the internet all day. But you can't do that because you're not getting the news. You're getting a story told to you that's got to have villains, it's got to have heroes, it's got to have the protagonist and antagonist, and it's got to have a plot, it's got to have a storytelling device, it's got to have a mechanism to wrap you in, and inevitably, almost always, it is of the left. And that has marginalized people on the right. It has alienated people on the right. They've gone elsewhere to get their news, but it's not just them anymore. Because stories like this show even people on the left that, hey, maybe the media doesn't have a monopoly on truth. Maybe the media is getting it wrong. I'm going to go find my truth as well, as opposed to the truth. So the media alienates everyone, but maintains a sense of smug self-righteousness. Ratings don't matter, the truth matters, when yet they're clearly catering things to clickbait and narrative telling instead of the truth. I don't know who does the intervention on the media. I don't know who goes to CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post and MSNBC and all the broken members of the press corps who so internalized Donald Trump. They're all in therapy now thinking, oh my gosh, my life was nearly ended because Donald Trump tweeted something mean about me. I don't know who does the intervention, but someone's going to do the intervention. Because a free people cannot stay free if there's not a free press. And the press have given up their freedom for security within a Democratic Party apparatus. And in so giving up their freedom, they are no longer free to tell you the truth, and yet are convinced they are totally free and telling you the truth, when they've been held captive to their own biases now. It erodes the public's trust. It makes it harder for us to have a stable democracy within our republic when half the country knows you can't believe the press because they disdain me and my political party. And they're not willing to call it straight or be fair. There are really good reporters in America. They do a really good job, and oftentimes they put their lives on the line. But they are all overshadowed by the media institutions themselves that editorially have gotten captured by the left to such an extent that if Donald Trump says the truth, they would rather tell you it's a lie than acknowledge he said something factual. And in this case, Donald Trump, Tom Cotton, myself, and many others all said, more likely than not, this virus came from that lab. And every single person who said it was vilified by the media. And now instead of acknowledging they got it wrong, they're rewriting their old stories and pretending as if everyone knew all along that was the case, which only further perpetuates people's disdain for the media, because the media shows that it itself disdains everybody else.
Politics, news, religion. Erick